Hey viewers and subscribers, it's Dom here for my most controversial video yet, a tier list for the monthly cards of 2019. So I'm going to show you the tier list, and that is the top tier, which is the yes tier, because A tier is overrated, same with S. B tier, because we need a B tier, C tier, and the Gerald Forager tier for those cards I don't really care about. But as this video is probably going to annoy quite a lot of you, I'm going to ask now if you could like and subscribe. I mean, I know I'm releasing this on the last day of the year, but I want to hit 500 subs sometime soon, as that would be a massive milestone for me, and as a small channel that would mean a lot. And honestly, a lot of these cards, they could easily be bumped up or bumped down one tier, I'd say. So I'd like to know what you think, and just tell me in the comments. I want to know your opinions, I want to know how wrong you think I am, how much of an idiot you think I am, or whether you think I've actually managed to guess your perfect tier list. But anyway, we'll start with our first card, Renegade Magister, a 5-cost 5/5, which when you use a friendly action to damage an enemy creature, he then deals that exact same damage back to that creature. It's basically a way of getting your lower cost damage cards to be removal cards, as Intelligence doesn't really have any cards which are just straight up destroy a creature that do X amount of damage. However, with most of these cards, I mean, I'd say Lightning Bolt is the main one this was made for, and I guess Firebolt. They usually will actually kill or do enough damage for what you need, so it's a bit unnecessary most of the time, which is why I'm going to put him in the C tier. I mean, his stat block's really nice, but I just think the ability could be a lot better and a lot more useful in more situations if I wanted to put him in a higher tier. Right, moving on to February, we have Training Grounds, a 4-cost support which has the ability, when you summon a creature, give it +1/+1 if it shares a type with the top creature in your deck. Again, it's a bit RNG-like if you've got multiple different types of creature in your deck, and if you're playing Willpower, this is just a slightly cheaper but worse version of Divine Fervor. But for those archetypes in Endurance, which might be pure skeleton decks, this card is ridiculously powerful, especially when you get off like Bone Colossus swarms and you completely flood the opponent. And just because of this diversity which you can have because of it being a neutral card, I am going to put it in B tier. Obviously, if this was aimed in a way where it was, oh, the best cards for this kind of deck, then maybe it might be knocked down for a C. But I feel like just because of how much it can be used in the correct scenarios, a B is where it deserves to go. So March gave us the Murkwater Not Goblin, and this is a 4-cost 3/1, who when summoned and dies gives you a curse in your hand. A nice little 0-cost card which takes away 1 power and 1 health from a card. Now this does have synergy with some cards like the Bloody Hand Chef and Swindler's Market, which is quite nice, but they're both very much to their own niche. As in, Bloody Hand Chef is a cool idea, but is always very susceptible to removal, and Swindler's Market, albeit highly amusing, isn't the most successful of support cards in the game. So I feel like this card probably is deserving of a C tier. Obviously, I feel like actually in its archetype of goblins and in Swindler's Market, it would gladly deserve a B tier. But with the low stats and kind of being very weak to, say, silencing it or banishing it and not getting that second curse, it is going to stay in C tier. Right, the Seasoned Captain is our next card, and this is a 4-cost 4/4 with Rally, and when you rally, also give a random item in your hand +1/+1. Now it starts with a decent stat block, Rally, which is always nice, and its ability isn't limited to just this card. So it would mean that if any of your other Rally creatures manage to rally, an item in your hand will also gain +1/+1. This is probably one of the ones I debated a lot more than the others, because I wanted to say either B or C tier, but I did decide that I feel like just because it does feel quite restricted and demand you have an item in the hand to do anything different, it's going to go in C tier. And I don't really know how that many rally deck works, because I don't play rally decks, but the ones that I've made haven't had that many items in. And as they're usually 75 cards decks, yeah, no, it's staying in C tier for me, sadly. Now, here comes the card that I'm the most confused about, and it's Hulking Mummy. When I say confused, I don't mean confused where to put it, I mean confused why it exists in this manner. It's a 4-cost with a 6/6 stat block, which is really good, but its drawback is that when summoned, it's shackled. Kind of similar to Imprisoned Deathlord, but eventually it will break out of the shackle and won't be put back in it. But with both these cards here, you just want to silence them and be done with it. And with that feeling, it does just kind of make me think you'd go with Imprisoned Deathlord every time. So because of that, I'm afraid Hulking Mummy is going to be joining Gerald Forager in their own special little tier at the bottom of the tier list. I'm sorry if someone really likes this card and gets very aggressive against it, but that is just my opinion, that it's the worst card of the monthly reward cards. Okay, so moving on to a double attribute card here, we have the Apprentice Necromancer, a 3-cost 3/3, so again, decent stat block. Summon a 1-cost creature from your discard pile. And the reason why I think this is actually quite a nice card is because not only is it summoning another creature to your side of the field, it gives you the choice to choose what you want to summon. Admittedly, it is only 1-cost creatures from your discard pile, so there's not going to be that much to choose from, and they're not going to be amazing, but it's still that ability to kind of summon out a second monster with this card for free. So I'm going to put it in the B tier. If it was summon a creature that was 2 or less, or 3 or less, from either graveyard or something like that, it would easily be in the yes tier. But I feel like it's a good contender for the B tier here. Obviously, this is, again, just my opinion. I don't think it would even go near the C tier, but yeah, B is where it deserves to go. Okay, so now we're moving on to Sentimel Reclaimer, a 3-cost 2/3, summon, put a Steel Dagger and Steel Sword in your hand. When I first saw this card, I thought, oh, this is quite nice. It's good for those item decks. But realistically, if you think about it, it's overall a 6-cost 6/3, which isn't very good stats. And yes, it does give you that draw power, and in the correct deck, obviously, you're going to have synergy going for miles. But because of that, I just didn't think it was really worthy enough to go into the B tier, so I had to shove it in the C tier. I think it could go in the B tier, maybe, if it was in a very, very well-constructed deck for it. But even then, it just doesn't seem to appeal to me that much. The draw power is probably what it does have going for it, though. So, now we're in August, I'm going to show off the card where it's going to be really controversial where I put it, in my opinion. 5-cost action, Old Salty's Assault. Summon one of each Mud Crab from your deck. Now, in a perfect scenario, this will summon these 4 cards, overall making an 8/8 unit, which gives you a card, your opponent a card, and deals 1 damage to your opponent. So, for a 5-cost, this is pretty good, and it can, you know, go outside of 1 lane. And because of all this unification, I am going to put it in B tier, even though I can really understand it not being that high up, because it does require such a specific kind of deck design, and obviously if you draw into these cards early, it can mess about with your later Old Salties. So yeah, it's in B tier, but it's not thoroughly into B tier. So September has brought the Prankster Mage, a 5-cost 5/3 with Ward, and while it has Ward, he has Guard, and when his Ward is broken, he gains cover. This seems quite cool at first, you know, 5/3, 5-cost with 2 different keywords initially, which is an excellent drop. But when the Ward's broken, it also gets to hide, meaning if you, say, are getting bombarded with attacks, it gives you a turn to, like, play an action to give back its Ward. I think this is just really good as, like, a defensive way at chipping at your opponent. So, because of that, it's going to get put in the B tier. I think it does actually deserve that spot. It's not dangling near the C tier. I guess it could be debated for the top tier, but nah, I didn't really want to put it that high up. Spooky Old Halloween brought Champion of the Arena, a 7-cost Orc plus Vampire, 4/8 with Breakthrough, Summon, Battle an enemy creature. Now, I really, really like this card, not just because it's based off Agronak from Oblivion, but because it has a lot of health. It battles a creature when summoned and has Breakthrough, so it usually will be damaging your opponent, kind of quite often destroying one of your opponent's monsters as well, and in the correct deck being buffed a lot. And because of all this really cool synergy and just excellent all-round card, I feel like it is deserving of the top yes tier. And I can see people arguing for it to be in a lower tier, maybe B. I don't see it dropping down to C because it is a nice bodied unit which can damage your opponent and work as removal. So I feel like it does deserve to be our first yes tier. Nearing the end of the year now, November brought the Rimmen Purveyor, a 4-cost 4/4, so already alright stats. Summon, consume a creature, reduce the cost of each creature in your deck that shares the type with that creature by 1. I really like this card, just because if you have a full deck of one type, it completely flattens the cost by 1. And that means if you can just unsummon this, yada yada yada, all that stuff, you can ridiculously reduce the cost of cards in your deck. So your 12 costs end up becoming significantly lower. And because of this really cool combo that you can do, again, I do think this does deserve the yes tier. Maybe that is me praising it just because I really like single type decks, and it probably is deserving of the B tier. But yeah, no, I think yes is good enough for this card. It probably is dangling on the edge though. Okay, and finally, December, this month, our last monthly card is the 11-cost Ayleld Guardian, an 8/8 with guard, immune to lethal, and when summoned, summons an Ayleld Guardian in the other lane. So it's pretty much 16/16 with guard in both lanes, which can't be destroyed by lethal. This is just really good. And it's not even a 12 cost, it's 11. And because obviously it's in Scout as well, and they're just known for making their Magicka redonkulously high, you'll be playing this a lot earlier on than most of the late game cards. So something as powerful and defensive as this, which even has its own protection, I'm going to have to put this up in the yes tier as our final card. And I don't think it really has any competition. It probably is the best monthly card we have seen this year. But anyway, that's going to end the video. Sorry I haven't uploaded much this week. I've just been holding it all off because Christmas has been quite busy. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you for a few more really good videos and a lot more really bad videos next decade. Weird to say, but yeah, guess it's going to happen. See you later.